These are the books I read in 2019. Hey guys, in this video I wanted to talk about the books I read in the year 2019 and just go over my experience with each of them. As always, before I begin, my intention is that whatever I express, whatever I say, I hope that it is for the highest good of everyone who comes across this video. To begin, I am going to start with the classics, Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, and A New Earth. I've already done an exclusive video on these books, so I'm not going to go into much detail. I read these books and I used these books as a toolkit to observe my ego, to observe how the ego was trying to control me. Basically, these books made me more and more and more aware of my ego, and not just my ego, but how the ego operates collectively in a society, in a group, in the entire world. This is the book, The Power of Now. I read twice in 2019, and I didn't design for this to happen, but very synchronistically it did happen that I read this right at the start of 2019 and right at the end of 2019. So the year got like sandwiched. When I read it the second time, it felt like I was reading it for the first time, because when I read it first, I consumed one level of it, almost like a layer of it, and I absorbed it and it peeled off. And when I read it the second time, I was digesting or understanding or interacting with a deeper layer of it. And I'm pretty sure if I read it a third, a fourth, a fifth time, each time I read it, I will understand more and more and continue to peel off layers of what I understand. Because whatever we read, we understand with our level of consciousness. So I thought it was a good sign that reading it the second time, I was able to go even deeper, which meant that something is changing in my consciousness. Yeah, if you are interested in investigating the human ego, then these two books are perfect for that. This year I also read Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic. Again, I've done a separate video on this. I love this book. I absolutely love it. 5 stars. I recommend it to everyone, but especially if you are an artist, a designer in the artsy creative field. This is a very helpful, motivating, inspiring read, and very light, very easy to read, very refreshing. Especially if you want to heal your relationship with your inner creative spark, this book can be used as a tool for that. Up next, it's The Art of Possibility by Rosamund Zander and Benjamin Zander. I read this at the start of 2019. If you're into self-help, personal development books, then this is a good addition. My favorite rule from this book, there are several rules, but my favorite one is where it says become the board or being the board, which means that you take responsibility for everything that's happening in your life. Like, I remember it gave an example that if you were in a car and you're at the traffic light and a car behind you rams into your car, the driver is drunk, your first response would be to feel like, oh my God, why me? Why did this happen to me? But even if you do some statistics, you would come to see and realize that it is possible for a drunk driver to hit you at the traffic light. So you take responsibility in that action, whereas you are in charge of your energy, of how responsive you are. It doesn't mean that you let the other driver get away and there's no repercussions. Of course there are, but the way you approach the situation is not from this place of anger and victimhood, but you take responsibility that yes, it is possible for such an accident to happen even when it's not your own mistake. So you become the board of that situation. And I also loved another rule in this, which is rule number 6, which is not take life too seriously. Just don't take yourself so seriously. And another was giving an A, again, which is to accept yourself completely. Wherever you are, whoever you are, accept yourself first, and then start investing in a particular direction of growth that you may be interested in. Up next, I have the Dow of Fool. This book describes or explains or speaks about different principles of Taoism through Winnie the Pooh. I have this strong memory of reading this book at the beach, and that chapter was talking about how we're interlinked with life. We're not in isolation, we are interlinked with life itself, with nature itself, and to let go and just flow with the flow and trust that you will move in the right direction, instead of moving around and trying to change things and trying and striving to make things happen. Just relax and go with the flow and trust that nature and life, in the intelligence that's inside you and the intelligence that's outside in the world, will guide you to wherever you need to be. So yeah, I do recommend this one. Up next is The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I remember I've mentioned this as well in a previous video. 4 agreements that if you live by, you will be a happier person, or you'll navigate through this life much easier than if you were just trying to resist everything or change everything all the time. In the previous video, I mentioned that my favorite agreement of this is to not take things personally, which is similar to becoming the board from Art of Possibility. That don't take things too personally. Don't think that you are being victimized or you are being hurt by someone or life is working against you. Don't take things so personally. Just lighten up. Then I read Waking Up by Sam Harris. The premise of this book is searching for spirituality without religion. I remember I enjoyed reading this book, the parts where he is explaining a lot of experiments that have been done on the human brain. Like if you split the right and the left side, they will be like 2 different people. They'll have different likes, or they'll remember different things, and how the brain is so powerful. And we don't know what consciousness is. We know it's there, but it can be split. So there is a lot of references in this to the science behind meditation and how it affects overall well-being. I think there was something about psychedelics as well. I'm not sure how I felt about this book. I definitely was interested in reading this and I finished it, but it did not blow me away, let's just say that. Another book I read this year was The Universe Has Your Back by Bernstein. I really enjoyed reading that book. It's a very light kind of a read that is reminding you that the universe has your back. And there are prayers in that book, there are meditations in that book, but generally I read that book before going to sleep to nudge me in this space. I keep pushing like that, but really it is to come in here, in this space of everything is perfect the way it is, and we're all part of a grand scheme of things, all relevant, all important. And so that book energetically is very soft and gentle. It's not very deep. It didn't impact me too much as the Eckhart Tolle books have been. It's more, but it did, it's a gentle read, just like I'm doing this, it's a soft read. Next, I listened to the audiobook of 5 Second Rule by Mel Robbins. I super enjoyed it. It was like she's narrating the book herself. So it felt like I had a personal motivation coach with me. If you want someone to just talk to you about, getting things done, come on, you can do it. You can eliminate or reduce procrastination. You can build courage in yourself. You can believe in yourself, believe in your dreams, take small steps, do them every day. Someone just pumping you up, someone encouraging you, someone motivating you, someone saying that, they believe in you and you can do it. Then this book is really good for that. And her idea is that when you think of doing something, just count in your head 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and just do it. Because your brain, if you take longer than 5 minutes, your brain will convince you and give you many reasons of why you shouldn't do that, why you should do something else, or it's okay, you're lazy, just say it doesn't matter, you'll do it later. So but 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you get up and you do it. I definitely enjoyed listening to the audiobook, and I would recommend, if you were doing it, to listen to the audiobook so you can have her voice play in the background, almost like another person. Your personal coach is right there with you, encouraging you and motivating you. Next, I listened to Get Rich, Lucky Bitch, Release Your Money Blocks and Live a First-Class Life by Denise Duffield-Thomas. I hope I said that name right. I really enjoyed listening to this book as well. The author herself, Denise, narrates it. She comes across as a really likable person. We don't really consciously think about this, but when you step into this world of personal development and conscious evolution and releasing programs and conditioning and putting in the software that you want, that amps up your life, we have this unconscious relationship with money as well. Many of us are brought up with a very restricting relationship with money, that there's a finite amount of money and only some people can have it, and all people cannot have it because money is limited. Most of us have a disempowered relationship with money, but it is something that we need to consciously work on. Just like you need to work on a relationship with another human being, we need to build that relationship with money as well and remove the limiting beliefs and the limiting blocks. And this book introduced me to the concept of decluttering memories, like decluttering money related memories from the past, where you felt fear around money, where you felt a lack around money, where I felt scarcity around money, and going back to those memories and feeling those emotions and releasing those emotions. This is also part of inner healing that I spoke about in the last video. For this book as well, I personally enjoyed listening to it, and I would recommend that as well, because then you have her voice, it's just in the background. It's again like a personal coach, like a personal money coach. In fiction, I read The Vegetarian. It was a very shocking read. I don't know how to it was very interesting, but also very dark and scary and kind of disturbing, but which kind of means it's good because it left a very strong impact on me. I don't know how I feel about it. Definitely very creative writing and an interesting concept, but one that left me a little bit like, what am I reading? What is going on the dark side. Other fiction I read was The Wasp Factory, which is similar, very dark. It's about this boy who has a very violent tendencies, but he is so aware of them. Like, he is so in touch with his dark, violent side. And the story is from his perspective and why he has these violent tendencies and why he does what he does and why he's done what he's done. If you want to get a glimpse into what goes inside humans who are drawn towards violence or bloodshed or murder, then you can give it a try. But there were times when I felt like it was a bit too disturbing. I really appreciated the writer going so deep down this path and for bringing out his creativity. But as a reader, I was like, okay, this is getting a little bit much. Next up, I have these two books. I started them in 2019, but I haven't finished them. I'm still reading them. First is Good Vibes, Good Life by Vex King. This is similar to, the vibe of this book is similar to The Universe Has Your Back. It's a very gentle, soft read, and as the book says, it's about self-love and self-acceptance, good vibes, good thoughts, manifestation, acceptance of yourself, not just of your personality, of who you are, but of your physical body, of your physical appearance, and not getting caught up in the commercial standards of beauty, just accepting yourself, loving yourself, setting boundaries, focusing on the good, being grateful, and it's okay. And it's okay that not everyone is on board with who you are or your dreams or your philosophy on life. That's fine. We're all different, but just staying true to yourself and living an authentic life, and focusing on your dreams and your passions. And I read this book with my morning routine. So after I'm done with my stretching and meditation, I read a chapter of this. They're very short chapters, and then I marinate in the idea, in whatever I read throughout the day, and I think about that. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this. And plus I also love this. I like this gold foiled type, and I like the size of this book. It's very different from any size. It's not so narrow, it's a bit wide and a bit short. So I like that. As a designer, I appreciate that. I also like how it feels in my head. I like how it feels in my head, but in my hands. Then I'm reading Inner Engineering by Sadhguru. So different from that, because this is very like light, soft, very straightforward, very telling you like it is. Stay in the moment, be aligned, focus on the positive vibrations and what the law of vibration is, what law of attraction is. This is deep. This is very philosophical. One of the problems, again, my view on most of these deeply philosophical books, even the Eckhart Tolle books, are like, they tell you that if you are suffering, if you are anxious, if you are depressed, if you're just feeling out of balance, it's like you're identified with the material world too much. You're identified with the mind too much. You need to come back into the present moment, come into alignment, but you're just stuck in your mind. But what these books, at least the ones that I have read so far, they don't tell you that process of bringing your identification outside of your mind and disidentifying from your thoughts and disidentifying from whatever the mind is telling you, that process, and coming into your core, coming into more of this energetic space, is not overnight. It's not a switch. That requires a lot of effort. It requires a massive, big ass commitment. It requires so much courage and so much perseverance and patience. So the books are telling you that, okay, you're to identify with your thoughts. You need to meditate. You need to come into alignment. And there's a lot of criticism for our current state of being where we are attached to the ego. But these books don't emphasize, they don't impart the courage that is required. They're not like a cheerleader that, come on, you can do it, you can do it, stay true, stay committed to your path. That is the training that I've received from self-help books, not the spiritual books, or something like Mel Robbins or Elizabeth Gilbert. Anyway, that's how I felt just in the books that I have read. I am enjoying Inner Engineering, and as the book suggests, it's all about inner work. However we may want to feel in our life externally, how we want things to change, it's all about the inner work. He talks a lot about yoga in this book, how yoga is so much vast, so much more expansive, so much more than just physical movements. It's a state of being. It's a state of just your awareness. And I believe he said yoga literally means union. And he's saying here that the science of yoga is quite simply the science of being in perfect alignment, in absolute harmony, in complete sync with existence. The physical practice of yoga is part of the larger philosophy of yoga. Being aware of your emotions, that's also yoga. Being aware of what's happening in your mind, that's also yoga. Bringing that awareness that you are more than this human body. You are part of a limitless cosmos, having an experience here as consciousness within this body and interacting with anything, with people, with situations, with objects, with that awareness, that is yoga. He speaks about food as well, that if you want to be in the state of yoga, your diet affects that. There are different sadhanas, that's what he's calling them, sadhanas, that are actions that at the end of every chapter of ideas or of stuff that you can do to expand this part of you, expand the consciousness, expand this awareness with which we are having this experience. If you are on this introspective journey, a journey that is making you ask this question, who am I? What is your ultimate nature? If you are a soul in this human body, and but who is the soul? Like, if you are thinking in that direction, then this book is perfect. I read it before going to bed, and whatever, again, it has short chapters, and whatever I read, I marinate in that idea as I'm going to sleep. And so this combination right now is really working. So in the morning reading this, and at night just reading this very philosophical, deeply spiritual, like deeply cosmic ideas and thoughts and provocations. So that's the books that I read in 2019. I wanted to add, bear with me, a little bit cringy and corny, but true. If you are on this, if you're interested in self-development, in personal development, in becoming your best version, in living your dream life, the best book that you can read is this book. Like, you yourself bring that commitment to your everyday life, that you are committed to growth and you are committed to expansion. Like, have a growth mindset. That's the commitment. Because even when you're reading these books, the books are not saving you. It's your intention that you bring towards this. It's that commitment that you make to yourself, that, I want to become my best version. And then with that approach, you read this book and then learning from it. If you didn't have that open-mindedness, if you didn't have that commitment, if you did not have that intention for growth, you can read as many books, but they are not going to help, or they're not going to make a lasting change. The reason I'm saying it, because sometimes we feel under pressure, because I've been there as well, that, oh my God, I need to read these books, I need to read all the books I can, because otherwise I'm not growing. But that's the energy with which this desperation is coming from, is that I'm not good enough, or I don't believe in myself, or I can't trust myself. But really, whatever these books are even teaching us is that everything begins here. So I need to trust myself. I need to accept myself, give myself an A, as it said in The Art of Possibility. And from that space of, which is a very empowered state of being, I can continue to water more and more of these seeds and plant more and more of these seeds. So ultimately, all the power is in here, in our intention, in our commitment. It's not in the books, it's in here. But yes, we can extract and we can use the books as a tool, as friends, as guides, as mentors. But the first thing we need to develop is a confidence and belief in our own abilities to become our best versions. Okay, that's all. I will see you again in another video. Adios, mi amigos. Bye bye.